Kind of one of my favorite songs of the 80s now. Baby Love by Regina at number 4, down from number 1 on my fantasy playlist of September 6, 1986. On this fantasy playlist, you might note, you have to look real close, I got an R besides Baby Love, designated R. That's a recurrent. Dropped from number 1 on my fantasy playlist. A recurrent was a parlance. It was a term that was used back in the day. A song that's not necessarily an oldie, too recent to be an oldie, but a song that's dropping off the charts. That's currently dropping on the charts. It's reached its peak, dropping on the charts, yet not quite an oldie. A song that may be about, well, it varies. According to the program or music director, a song could be about 3, 6, 9 months, or a year old. Recurrent. Baby Love, fantasy for my fantasy playlist, September 6, 1986. Regina. A lot of people thought she was a Madonna wannabe, including Mr. Deejay, but my goodness, it turns out she was not a wannabe, not by any means. Some of these facts may surprise you about Regina. I mean, I thought, well, this is a 17, 18, 19, 20-year-old dude just cashing in on the Madonna craze and sounding like Madonna, having her one-hit wonder, but the truth is a lot more complicated. So let's get right into it right now. She was a theater major. We're going back into the 70s now. She'd been in the music business for about close to 10 years, maybe 10 years, maybe a little bit more, before she had her hit record, had her day, her 30 seconds of fame. She was a theater major from Brooklyn. She was in a band. She wrote songs for a new wave band called Regina Richards. That was her name, Regina Richards and the Red Hot. Regina Richards and Red Hot, and they got a deal. They got a deal with A&M Records. They put out a CD, an album in England that didn't do much of anything. They put out a couple of singles, which was ignored. But they played some big clubs in New York City. Regina Richards and the Red Hot. They played Max's, what's that place called in New York City? Max Frost or something like that. It was called, I wrote it down somewhere, bear with me. Max, Kansas City, big nightclub in New York City. And CBGB, legendary club in New York City. Regina Richards and her band played at these places in New York City. But no hits, nothing happened. She got frustrated to solve the band. But she teamed up with with the band's drummer, Stephen Bray, and they started making demos. They were making demos for other artists, writing songs for other artists. To pay the rent, they worked in this facility. It was not a warehouse. I wrote it down. My notes are all over the place on this thing. They worked at this facility. It was called Music Building in New York City, and they worked with other artists to help them get a record deal. One of those artists who was seeking a record deal, one of those artists approached Regina and Stephen Bray for some help on her demos. Her name, Madonna, looking for a record deal. Regina got together with Madonna, helped Madonna out with her demos, helped Madonna spruce up her vocal harmonies on her demos. And Madonna sounded so much like Regina. When Madonna came out with her first album, Regina was with her mother in a supermarket. Madonna's, it wasn't Borderline, it was Holiday was playing over the radio or over the speaker in the supermarket. Regina's mother screamed, said, that's you on the radio, you're getting played. And Regina said, no, 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 Mom, that's not me, that's a friend of mine that I've been working with. That's Madonna. Her and Stephen Bray, they worked up some demos. They worked up some demos. One of the songs that they worked up was Baby Love. Now the story gets a little murky here. The record companies took an interest in the demos, but they also took an interest in Regina. They wanted to sign Regina. She got a deal with Atlantic Records, and they wrote Baby Love for other people. One of the contenders was Madonna, but Atlantic Records wanted Regina to record Baby Love. So there you have it. Went to number 10 on Billboard's Hot 100. Went to number 1 on the dance charts. Stephen Bray, he co-produced Madonna's True Blue album. He produced Into the Groove. Remember, Into the Groove was not released as a single by Madonna, but was played a lot on the radio in the spring of '85. He co-wrote another hit song by Madonna. Stephen Bray did, Angel. Stephen Bray, who later became a member of the Breakfast Club and had that huge hit Right on Time. Or was it Right on Track? Might have been Right on Track in the spring of '87. Gosh dog it. So she was not a wannabe. Regina actually helped Madonna launch her career. My goodness, how these things work out behind the scenes. And you know something? This record was played a lot in the summer of 1986. Video and heavy rotation on night tracks. But you know what's really weird? I didn't really get into the song that much at the time. But in the 90s and 2000s, looking back on the 80s, I was thinking, my goodness, that's a wonderful record. You don't hear it that much anymore. That's probably happened with you as well. You know how that goes. Well, Regina's Baby Love, number 4 on my fancy playlist, September 6, 1986.